Welcome to the Chronicles of the Christian Drama Queen podcast. I am your host and the original Christian Drama Queen, Lisa Schaefer, and I'm glad that you are here. I can promise you that I know what it's like to think like a lover of Jesus, but live like a hot mess every day. And if you can relate, then you're in the right place. Everything from the craziness of homeschooling my kids to overcoming deep wounds of abandonment and abuse. Stay with me, sister. I have walked down all those paths, and I've got decades of healing and hope that God's called me to share with you today. So here we go. All right, here we go. Indeed. Thanks for joining me today, guys. I have just branched out a little bit and decided most recently that I need to start interviewing other people, talk about the things that they offer, and talk about, of course, their redemption stories. So I'm glad you've joined me today. This is one of my very first interviews that I have done of someone else. And I think you're going to like this. For those of you who are mompreneurs and you're trying to raise kids and trying to take care of all the things that happen at home, listen, you are in the right place today, because I am interviewing, just a few weeks ago, interviewed my good friend, Aliese Halcomb. Aliese is the founder of Peaceful Mompreneur. And I am just going to let her go ahead and share with you what it is that she does and how she does it. So we'll just go ahead and get started. And here's my not so great or professional introduction of Aliese. I'm right, Halcomb?
Yep. Yes, that's correct.
And Aliese and I met through a mutual mastermind entrepreneur group that we are part of, and has been just a huge blessing to me. And Aliese has just become a real support system for me, and not just a prayer friend, but some of her ideas have just been really beneficial for me and my business, and certainly helped me pray through some of the decisions I've made recently with my business and ministry. So Aliese, I want you to introduce yourself. Tell people a little bit about where you are, where you're from, what your situation is, and then introduce the name of your business and what you do there.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Lisa. You've been such a blessing to me too. I love that the Lord has put us together in that mastermind.
I love
it's
that.
great how much He works together, and it just makes wonderful things happen. It's beautiful. So I live in South Mississippi with my husband, and we have one son. I wouldn't say that I'm a young mom by any means, but I help moms with young kids. Right? There's a little bit of a difference. You can be both of those things, but you can also be older and have kids too. And so mostly what I do is help moms with young kids who have a dream to start a business and know that the Lord is calling them to something more than just what they're already doing. Figure out how to actually do those things without losing their mind, right? We want to do what God has called us to, but without losing the things that He has told us that are most important. Our relationship with Him, our relationship with our husbands and our kids. And so how does business, which is its own big thing, fit into your life as a mom with young children or any children or grandchildren or whatever that looks like? And so like I said, was a little older when I had kids, and the one kid. And I'd been in business for a while, and so I was just rocking and rolling. I didn't have kids, so I didn't know what it actually took. And then all of a sudden there's this little person in my life that needs me to make sure he lives, right? Mm-hmm. So like he becomes all of this for me. And I'm like, oh, I don't know how to do this. Before I had him, I had literally never changed one diaper, not in my entire life. The nurses showed me how to do it in the hospital. And so, you got to do what you got to do. So I did it, right?
Do what you got to do.
So I just started trying to figure out, how do I make my graphic design business work at the same time where I am staying home and focus on him, my brand new priority that requires me to let him live, make him live. You know what I mean?
Keep him alive.
Keep him alive. There you go. Keep him alive. Yes, exactly. So I just started creating these systems and rhythms in my life that.
Now, let's stop there for a second, because I have to tell you, for the older generation, the idea of creating rhythms makes me go, I don't understand what that means. We would call that just organization skills. We would call
Oh
that
yeah.
plans that we stick to. I was not familiar with the term rhythms. And so what you're when you say rhythms, you're talking about consistent, effective ways of living. So like I've got a plan. Every morning I do this at 6, I do this at 9, I do this at noon. And those rhythms keep you from losing your bloody mind, right?
Absolutely.
So okay, so I just wanted to clarify that a little bit because for
Yeah.
folks in my generation, we're going with what? What do you mean?
Yes.
So
So
anyway, carry on.
I think that rhythms is just kind of a nicer word than like schedule because I don't like the word schedule
Or
and
routine. You don't
or
like
routine, like
routine?
all those things. Like I am a gypsy at heart, like for real. I'm living on a train, running away, like with other than because of the Lord and because of my husband is the reason why I have food and a house. So like he knew what I needed in a man, right?
Right.
So he's very stable. And so yes, so by creating these rhythms, which are anchored in by time in the day because obviously we live by time, but
Right.
they're not such so strict that every 15 minutes you need to be doing something very, very specific. So it gives you a little bit of flexibility, a little bit of freedom inside of that, but the structure of your day typically stays the same, and depending on the day in the season of life that you're in, because they do change, especially when you have little people. They
Hmm.
change so fast. You got to be flexible. You got to be willing to go where they're going, like what naps are changing, and now they need to eat real food, and now you're doing stuff, like all the things that happened in the first couple of years. Um, and so you just creating these rhythms allowed me to continue to work on my business and continue to focus on what God has called me to, but also ensure that I am spending the time I needed to with him first and
Hmm.
foremost, then with my husband and with my son. And so, and in that order, obviously little people need you a lot, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So,
And I noticed
um,
in your and I just want to say because I've been going through your training material. And one of the things that I noticed from the very get-go, you prioritize. You have to determine what are the three top things you have to do or participate in or your identities. I am a wife and a mother, a child of God. You prioritize those things. And if things are not leading you to participate in those categories in the right priority, then it has to change. You have to do something to change it. And that to me just seems very, very practical. You call your business, is it Peaceful Mompreneur?
yes.
It's the
Mhm.
Peaceful Mompreneur business. So I want to ask you just a few questions because the audience I tend to communicate with is all about recovering from abuse or abandonment, trying to find a way to overcome bitterness. And I think there are some words that, for me anyway, trying to function as a homeschool mom for 25 years, if I didn't address some of the stuff that was going on in my life spiritually and emotionally, it was hard for me to do the other stuff, the things that seemed so practical and seemed to be working for other people. Do you find with your clients that there's a connection with those things too?
Yeah, I would say so. Yes, if your priorities are out of order, out of whack, then everything else kind of just falls apart, right? If you're not dealing with the things that the Lord is trying to deal with you about, right? Like if that is trauma or if there's some sort of dispute between you and your husband that you need to deal with or with a friend or something like that, the Lord tells us like if you bring your sacrifice and you have, I don't know the exact verse, but like basically, if you have a problem with a brother, then you need to leave that there and deal with that.
Right.
And so, if there's something in your life that has to be dealt with first, then I would definitely agree with that. It needs to be dealt with before you move forward.
And it seems to me like we almost feel like we're supposed to function perfectly in these areas, in these new rhythms, in these new routines or schedules. We feel like we're supposed to perform there perfectly without dealing with the things that throw us off mentally and emotionally. And I know for me, that means, the 4-year-old spills his cereal all over the floor. And if I'm in a position where I've not been able to sacrifice my own wants or my own desires for, perfect home or whatever, if I've not done that before I'm sitting down to breakfast with the kiddos, then I'm already out of whack. I've already like prepared myself for a failure there or for an emotional outburst or whatever. So I love that you force in your system, you force us to prioritize, deal with the things God's called us to, whether it's his child first, having children second, being a wife, whatever it is, the order that you have to design or you have to, and I think that that works for people who don't have children too, who need to prioritize their relationship with the Lord. I'm going to give you some words, and I want you to kind of give me um, maybe the first topic that comes to mind. Okay. And I know this is kind of a little bit, like we didn't plan this. So, um, how important is grace with your clients?
Oh, it's really important. I mean, God gives us grace all the time, and that's something that we have to be willing to give ourselves, right? And that's very important because just because you put in a system and you are rocking and rolling it doesn't mean that it's not going to just be, totally annihilated one day because the
Mhm.
world starts falling apart. Like that happens. Is somebody spills something, people are late, are wind up in the behind a wreck, like, and things just don't go the way you expected, and that's okay. That's okay. So giving yourself grace to know, especially as you first start doing this, you're not going to do it perfectly. You've been doing it the other way for so long.
Mhm.
When you first start, it's going to be hard. It'll be worth it, but it'll only work for a few for a little while until the season changes. But as you continue to do it, because the process works the same every time, you just have to kind of work it, and it gets faster and easier as you do it. And so you just give yourself grace to say, okay, maybe this isn't working anymore. Maybe I need to change what that looks like. I have a friend who, she's a homeschool mom. She has three girls, and they wanted to be part of a co-op so bad that was on a particular day, but she hosted a Bible study on that particular day. And they had tried all the other ones in the area and they were not working out for her.
Mm.
And I told her, we were just talking, and she was just, telling me about it. And I told her, I was like, you can move this Bible study. Like, we are important, but your daughter is more important.
Mhm.
And
And that,
she
that
was,
that makes you go back to your priorities, right? These three
yeah.
callings or whatever that you start with. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Absolutely. And the thing is, she moved it, and now they go to that co-op. People still come to her Bible study. And so, like, she had to give herself grace to say, like, this isn't working right now. I
Mhm.
can change it. We have control of our situations. We get to control what we're doing each and every day. Not completely, there are things that
Right.
we get to
Well, and
control,
that
but
brings me to the next topic because I know as part of the training that I've gone through with you, we talk about things that you can steward, that be in stewardship with, and
Mhm.
things that you cannot. So are there some things? So explain that a little bit because I think it was kind of a revelation for me to realize there are some things I can steward and some things that are not steward. I can't steward them, but are that I have to respond to. So talk to me a little bit about that difference.
Yeah, absolutely. So we call it like stewarding, or like stewarding and surrendering are the
Surrendering.
things, right? So stewarding are the things that we can control. We can control how we react, how we act to people, our thoughts. We can control where we go mostly, kind of thing. But there are things you can't control. You can't control other people's thoughts, other people's reactions, other people's feelings about what you're
Mhm.
doing. But you are control of what you do with your family, and you and your spouse is, as a team, decide what you guys do, and other people will have opinions about that, and
And you have to
you
surrender that, right? You
you have
can't
to
steward that.
surrender
You have to
that.
surrender that.
You have to surrender that, and also decide that, if, like, because opinions, everyone has an opinion, right? And some of them are good for you, and some of them are bad. Most of them are probably bad. So you get to decide who's speaking in your life and if that's important for
And whether
you
it's
to deal with.
okay. If it's okay for them to speak into, because a lot of times
Absolutely.
it's just not. Um,
Absolutely.
I will tell you one of the things that I find with a lot of the clients that I talk to about facilitating freedom and getting rid of the bitterness. Many of us who have been abused or abandoned, we tend to become the parents that we know we don't want to be. We're enablers. We tend to not ever want to say no. We don't want to let our kids down. They're going to stop loving me if I don't do everything that they need for me to do. I'm not going to be perfect, and I don't want them to see I'm not perfect. There's just this enabling mentality. And I find that there are a lot of things that I have not surrendered. I still respond to their disappointment in me. I still respond when I have to tell them no, or I don't tell them no when I know I should. Do you find that there are a lot of people that work through your process that still struggle with that as well? And what do you kind of attribute that to?
So yeah, absolutely. I think learning how to say no or learning how to only be, responsible for ourselves is a problem that most people have. Nobody wants anybody to be upset with them. Like that's not a thing we want. And I don't know what I would attribute it to. I'm not sure exactly like where that stems from other than wanting to be liked.
Mm,
Um, but I would say that I think most people deal with it, no matter what their background is. But practicing saying no is a skill. Like saying no is a
mm.
skill. And so you don't get better at running unless you start going running, and you're not going to get better at saying no until you start saying no.
I love that. And I will say that I think I remember a time when I was super busy in the church and still trying to take care of three little kids, and homeschooling. And we were in everything. My husband and I taught every class. We were in every VBS planning meeting. We were in every mission friends coordination. We were part of everything all the time. And I remember the Lord just really saying to me, "You've got to be able to keep saying yes to these three little ones, and that's going to mean saying no to these people that are trying to pull these things from." And they're good things that they were
Yeah.
asking me to do. It's not that they weren't. It's
Yes.
that I was really struggling with, well, am I a better Christian when I say yes to one and not another? Am I a better Christian when I say no to the thing that's coming right out of the church, needs to be done at church, right? Or am I a better Christian when I say no to that and I say yes to something that's obviously I've been called to do, something I've been called to respond to. So I do love the fact that I really think it's important to give these young busy moms, especially mompreneurs, the ability to say no to
Mhm.
things. So what do you tell these moms that have decided they want to start out with a business? What is kind of a first priority when they feel like they need to give more time to their business? How do they decide how much time to give to their business?
Well, I think it's different for everybody, right? Especially what type of business you're in and what season of life that you're in, right? And so I would tell them to take a step back and actually inventory their life. Like, what are they doing right now? And like, you can't add stuff unless you're doing nothing, which if you were a mother, you are not doing nothing, right?
There's no
And
way to
so
be that person,
there's
is there?
there's no way, right? And so if you to add things means to remove things.
Right, so
So
I can't do one without the other, and I have a kind of we have a kind of a rule in our house. If we go to a Goodwill store and we decide we're going to bring stuff home, if you get one pair of pants, you better be planning to get rid of two when
I
you get
love it.
home,
That's a
right?
good, yes.
Because I've got to have control of the Zen effect or the absence of Zen, and some of that is whatever I bring in, I've got to be willing to get rid of two of. So and we always do that with clothing or jewelry. I'm notorious for that kind of a
That's
thing.
very smart. I'm
So,
doing
yeah,
that forever now.
yeah,
And
yeah.
so, so I would just say like look at your life and see what you're doing. Literally walk through your days and make a list. This is how it makes it's easy for me and I walk with my clients through stuff like this. Like make a list of what you're actually doing, not the stuff you want to be doing, not the stuff you wish you were doing, the stuff you're actually doing. And then look at that list and decide like what things on here are one bad for me, right? Because there's everybody
Mhm.
does some stuff that they probably at least shouldn't be doing as much of. I have such a problem with watching television. I never do it
I
in
do
front of
too.
my son. He doesn't get to watch TV, but he goes to bed, and then I'm like on my couch forever.
We start to veg, right? It's like,
Yes, and
and you
so
know what I used to tell myself, and I think this is a bad thing. I used to tell myself, well, this is the only chance I get to be alone and do something I want to do.
yes,
And but in if I were to really look at it, it's a big time suck. It just
Yes.
completely takes steals your time. I mean, those
Feels
are
it.
moments you cannot get back that you
Nope.
spent in front of, old 90210 episodes or whatever.
Exactly, exactly. So as you're looking at it, and if that's you, just like me and Lisa, then there's some hours that you could use for something else. And like you definitely need downtime. I'm not telling you that you need every minute of your day needs to be something super, super productive, but television, scrolling, like those types of things do not, I have never met a person that they fill up. You know what I'm saying? Like
My spirit did not get overjoyed at those 15 minutes of scrolling through Facebook Reels, right?
absolutely, right?
Right.
So find things in your life that do fill you up and actually continue to do those. So like don't get rid of those things. But just give yourself grace, like we were talking about earlier. Like you don't have to do everything. You're allowed to say no. Your schedule is yours and your family's. And if you're in charge of little people, then their schedule is also your responsibility. So as you're start wanting to start this business and you know that you're going to have to give it some time because if you don't give it any time, it's just a dream, my friend. You're not actually starting
Mhm.
anything. And so where are the pockets of time that you can give your business? And maybe that means saying no to some things that you used to say yes to, right? So as a very practical example, I'll tell you what we do. I work when Asher, my son, naps, which is very like an easy time to do it, right? So if you have kids that still nap time is great. All the laundry won't get done, your kitchen won't be as clean, and you're just gonna have to be okay with it. Okay.
That's right.
And so, so you have to find a different time to
And
clean.
you're just gonna have to be okay with it. I love that. And I and
Yeah.
I'm and I'm really what's really funny is I am notorious for giving that advice to someone else. But when it comes to applying it to me, I'm like, no, no, we're not you can't have it that way. Everybody else can be that way. Yeah, do as I
Right.
say, not as I do. Right.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, you're
So
so
we do
right.
so we do that. So
Hmm.
that's when I work, like very strict work. Like, no, I can't hang out. No, I can't talk on the phone. Like my sister, she knows. She will text me. She's like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'm putting Asher down for a nap." She's like, "Okay, I'll talk to you later." Like
Yeah,
she's very
she knows.
aware that I'm going to ignore her for the next 2 hours. And so like the people around you, as you continue to do it and as you continue to say no, there is a light on the other side, right? People will know that you're going to tell them no, and then it won't be
Mhm,
as hard. So,
mhm.
anywho, so we do it then, and then there's 2 days a week that I meet my husband at the gym. Like he gets from work and I meet him there and I give him Asher, our son, and they go play and I work for an hour. So we do that twice a week. And
Mm.
then 2 nights a week, I'm working after our son goes to bed. And he knows, like Nolan knows that, I know that, so he can play his video games, which works out for him too, because it's the only time he gets to play games.
Yeah, that's his downtime too,
That's his
right?
time.
Yeah,
So
downtime.
it's like there's not a set day where I'm working like 8 hours. Like that just doesn't happen. But there
Hmm.
are every day I'm working about 3 hours, 2 hours, depending on the day. And so finding pockets of time and communicating with your family how that works for you. When
Right.
is it that your spouse can be more involved with your kids and you could work? Or is there a night a week or 2 nights a week that you can do that? I have a friend whose daughter doesn't get up until like 8 o'clock or 8:30. But she's like a morning person. So she gets up at like
Right.
5:30. And so she does her 3 hours of work in the morning every day. And so
Right.
there's just like it has to work for you and for your family and what season of life that you're in. But that starts by looking at what you're doing and
Right.
looking at what you can get rid of and where you can add stuff.
So I'm about to switch gears on you, and you're probably
Okay,
going to kill me for that. But no, you won't because you love me.
I do.
But I was just sitting here thinking, and you and I've had some in the midst of our mastermind group together, we have talked a great deal about things like embracing who you really are, who God's really made you to be, embracing a life without fear.
Mhm.
And moving and pressing forward, even when it seems like, other people would look at that and go, no, that scares me. I don't want to try that. Um, I know for a fact that you're one of those people that when you see something that looks like it's going to be a challenge, you'd have a tendency to charge right in. Okay. So I know that for some of the people that listen to me, they listen to me and all of my redemption stories because they probably need to make a decision to do something different. It might be that they need to address the trauma and deal with it. It might be that they need to address the lack of income and do something to deal with it. It might be that they don't have any peace at home in the midst of all the raising kid chaos.
Mhm.
And all of those things, What do you say to someone that doesn't want to be a jumper? Because I know that's what I've called you as a jumper.
Yeah.
You tend to look at something that's a challenge and go, okay, I'm just charging right in,
Yeah.
right? And I do try to be more like that, especially when it comes to conflict. Like it used to be, someone in my life that was dealing with addiction, and I would say, we're going to dance, for years we dance around the subject and act like it wasn't a problem. It wasn't creating problems for other people. And now I just charge in and go, okay, look, we're going to talk about this.
Mhm.
So that's kind of my jump place right now because what was happening before was not working. It wasn't making any difference. So what do you say to people that have that need or desire or see that challenge and they don't want to jump? What makes you jump that should make them jump? Maybe is the question.
Well, I think I'm going to use basically what you just said, right? What you're doing right now isn't working.
Mm.
So if where you are isn't where you want to be, something has to give. Like you can't keep doing what you're doing and expect it to be different. And
Right.
that
That whole
way,
definition of insanity thing, right?
exactly,
Yeah.
right? And so you see where you want to go. These are the steps that need to be taken to get there. And if you don't start taking any steps, then you're just in a year from now, you're going to be exactly where you are now.
And you have
Do
to be okay with that,
you have
right?
to be okay with
I
that?
have to decide that it's okay for me to be in the same place a year from now if I'm not
Yep.
going to do anything to change
So
it.
yeah, basically you get to decide where you're headed or if you're staying still. So what are you going to do? Like
Hmm.
that's really the question. Are you happy where you are? And if you're not, you got to do something about it. There's no one else is going to do it for you. This is the time. Now is good. Why not
Hmm.
now? There's nothing will be perfect.
And do you encourage, and let me ask you this, do you think it's a good idea, and I think that you already kind of instruct in your program, is it a good idea to master one thing before you move on to the next thing? So for example, my thing is this block planning idea.
Hmm.
I sat down, I made a list of all the things that I do in my day or have to do in my day. I've got to address these needs and those needs. And then, and I kind of think what we did was we decided on a week. Like, I know I need to spend 10 hours doing this as a manager for my cleaning company every week. Where am I going to put those hours? And I divvied it up. And then if a fire came along I needed to put out, I could move that block into another place. I still was giving my business those 10 hours, but I
Hmm.
was moving it to someplace else so I could deal with an emergency if I needed to.
Yeah.
Um, should I master that before I move on to the next thing? Or is it like more comprehensive to be learning all of the things that I should be doing as I go?
I wouldn't say that you should master it. No. I think that as you put it into place and you try it out, and while you're trying it out, you're learning if it's going to work. And then
Hmm.
you're able to adjust it. Because if you
Hmm.
try to master it, and like everyone, no matter if you have young kids or not, seasons change and they change relatively fast. So if you try to master that, all of a sudden you've mastered it, something has changed. And so,
Hmm.
no, I would not wait around until you've got your block schedule figured out to be able to try to do something new and can
Mm.
continue to learn.
I love that. I think that's right. I think you're right on that one. I'll give you a
Thanks.
kudos for that one. I want to talk a little bit about how people can find you. So, what are you doing right now? Are you in? I know recently you hosted a summit,
Hmm.
25 different workshops for peaceful mompreneurs to get those businesses going and to have some skills and some people who were masters at some things to get started. What are you doing right now?
So right now, the best way to get in touch with me is to get so the rhythm that we were just talking about. I have a guide that walks you through defining your priorities through making that week schedule that Lisa you were just talking about, right? So it takes you through each and every step. And so that guide is the best way to get in touch with me, basically. And so you download that guide, and then I will talk to you all the time, and I will love you, and you can email me back, and we can be friends. That's how
Right.
we can do that. And
Can
so
now how so do you have a website where they can go and find you right
I
away?
do, I do. It's AliseHalcomb.com.
And we're going to put that in the comments on all of my wherever I'm putting the podcast. You will see that
Yep.
in the description. Okay.
Yes.
If
It's
I
under
can,
construction, so it's probably looking rough, but you can go there.
you can go there and see what's happening, right? And then do you offer some sort of workshopping call or maybe just
I do.
get to know me call and that sort of thing?
Yes,
Can they find a link to that there to sign
they
up
sure
for that?
can. Absolutely.
Excellent,
Yep.
excellent. Okay, thank you so much for coming. I
Yes.
appreciate I appreciate you so much, and you just taught me so much. And I can't believe I'm 60 years old. I'm still learning how to be
Always learning.
a peaceful mompreneur myself. So I really, really appreciate that. So, and I'm going to encourage people. I would really want people to connect with you and what you're doing with the peaceful mompreneur. I think it's, I wish they'd have had it when I started 24 years ago, trying to be a peaceful mompreneur myself. So thank you, Elise.
Thank you so
All
much.
right.